Discover the heartwarming moment a mother-in-law reveals her unexpected 30-year love affair. In the heart of a charming Midwestern town, Emily Johnson prepared for her 50th birthday, but instead of excitement, she felt a heavy fog of uncertainty. The aroma of homemade pie filled her kitchen, yet that familiar warmth was overshadowed by an unsettling silence at the dinner table. Tom, her once vibrant husband, sat across from her, his eyes distant as if he were miles away. The laughter that used to spill from their home had been replaced by whispers of rumors that slithered through the community like unwanted visitors. Each day felt like walking through a storm, and Emily craved clarity. Their family, once a tight-knit circle, seemed to be unraveling at the seams. She remembered bustling dinners filled with tales of her students and silly arguments over whose turn it was to do the dishes. Now there was a chasm between her and Tom that whispered of unspoken truths. Then a knock echoed through the silence of their home. When Emily opened the door, it was Ruth, her estranged mother-in-law, standing there, flashlight early morning on her face like a ghost from the past. Ruth's entrance brought with it the weight of years marked by tension and unresolved conflicts. She stepped inside, eyes searching, yet waited with stories held too long in silence. "Emily, can we talk?" Ruth's voice trembled, but Emily felt the urgency in it. As they sat on the worn couch, Ruth began to recount memories of heartache, how the Great Recession had touched them all, how love can sometimes bend but not break. As Emily listened, tears pooled in her eyes. The warmth of connection slowly seeped in. Yet the air crackled with tension too. There were so many years of hurt and anger bottled away. Before long, the conversation took a turn. "I had an affair," Ruth said, her voice barely above a whisper. "With a war veteran, someone you've probably heard whispers about. Mark Wells." The name hit Emily like a punch to the gut. The local war veteran was a man shrouded in whispers, enigmatic and tragic. A chorus of emotions surged within her: betrayal, confusion, and an unexpected wave of sympathy for Ruth. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Ruth's revelation ignited a firestorm at the dinner table. Discussions ignited conflicts as Tom remained silent, the specter of their marriage's every expectation crashing down. The children, caught in the crossfire, watched in wide-eyed disbelief as emotions flared. Betrayal danced in the air, and Emily found herself questioning what it meant to love and forgive. Each revelation became a blade carving at the seams of their lives. As the shadows lengthened into dusk, Emily felt the weight deepen. The question hung thick. Could she embrace the complexities of love? Was forgiveness possible after such a revelation? The churning emotions lay heavy in her chest, as she stood on the precipice of a decision, one that would determine the fate of the family. In this moment of uncertainty, amidst the overwhelming tides of love and hurt, Emily took a breath. Tomorrow would not only be her birthday but perhaps a new beginning. But she knew with a trembling heart that the path ahead was shrouded in darkness, waiting to be illuminated by understanding or broken beyond repair. The morning sun crept through the curtains, casting a golden hue across the kitchen. Emily stood at the counter, flour dusting her hands, but the pie she had planned to bake felt like a distant thought. Today was her birthday, yet it had an unrecognizable weight hanging over it. Turning the radio on, soft music filled the air, attempting to drown out the tumult within her heart. Tom stirred, his eyes still heavy with sleep. She stole a glance at him, hoping to see a flicker of warmth, a reminder of the bright man she had fallen in love with years ago. Yet what she saw was an unfamiliar face, marred by confusion and regret. "Good morning," she offered, her voice wavering. "Morning," he replied almost mechanically. Emily could see thoughts clashing in his eyes, battle lines drawn between affection and old wounds. As the morning unfolded, their children, Jake and Lily, ambled into the kitchen. Their youthful exuberance was like a balm on Emily's frayed nerves. Yet she could see their innocent faces wrestling with unspoken questions. The reality of their situation hung in the air, a thick, heavy fog clouding their family's usual laughter. "Happy birthday, Mom," Jake said, breaking the morning stillness. He handed Emily a handmade card, his pride evident in his beaming smile. "Thanks, sweetie," Emily said, forcing a smile. She glanced at Tom, who nodded in acknowledgement, but his eyes remained clouded. It was time for the family to gather around the table, and as they settled in, Emily felt a tightness in her chest. The tension felt palpable, as if everyone was holding their breath. "Can we talk about yesterday?" Tom asked, the weight of his words hanging heavily in the air. Emily's heart raced. She couldn't tell if she was ready or not. "Sure," she said, and the children exchanged glances, uncertainty palpable on their youthful faces. "But let us not ruin breakfast." "We can't ignore it," he said firmly, his voice steady yet tinged with regret. "Mom's affair, it's complicated." Complicated. That word echoed through Emily's mind. Complicated felt like a label for everything they had been through. It was complicated how love could be genuine yet flawed, how families could be torn apart yet stitched back together with threads of grace and forgiveness. As the plates cleared and the coffee cooled, they spoke in hesitant tones. Ruth's story unfolded like a delicate thread, weaving through betrayals and secrets. Every revelation felt like a dagger swirling in Emily's thoughts, the details of an affair that spanned decades. A life lived outside the bound of their small-town-esque gossipy circle. "What does it all mean for us?" Emily finally asked, her voice a whisper, a fragile plea for understanding. Tom looked down, fiddling with his fork, wrestling with the truth that had both set them free and shackled them. As the silence grew heavy, Emily felt the weight of motherhood pressing on her, the need to protect her children vibrating through her. "I don't know," Tom began, his eyes reflecting weariness. "But I want us to try." Her heart fluttered with a mix of hope and fear. Could the remnants of their love withstand the tremors of betrayal? Would they be able to rise above the ashes of past mistakes? As the morning light warmed their kitchen, bathing it in hope, Emily pondered what the future held. The tension shifted, uncertainty hovering just above them, yet a flicker of possibility ignited her spirit. What would it take to mend their family? Could they confront the painful truth together and seek a new path forward? Emily took a deep breath, savoring the stillness. Tomorrow might be a new beginning, but today brought the promise of courage, a chance to confront the shadows that haunted them. And in that moment, possibility sparked where despair had laid claim. But as they faced one another, caught between yesterday's pain and tomorrow's potential, a single thought remained: what was next? The air hung heavy, saturated with unspoken promises and fears as they all exchanged glances. The morning sun continued its dance across the kitchen floor, but Emily felt colder than ever. What had been a day meant for celebration had slipped into a quiet reckoning. Jake was still looking at her, his young face a mixture of confusion and concern. She wanted to reach out, comfort him, assure him everything would be okay. But how could she, when she herself didn't know what okay meant anymore? Lily, sensing the weight in the room, folded her arms on the table. "Can we just eat?" "I want birthday cake," she said, her tone almost defiant. It broke the tension momentarily, and Emily smiled gently, grateful for her daughter's innocence even if it was just a smokescreen. "Mom's birthday cake is always the best part," Jake said, trying to lighten the mood. "Can we have it now?" "No, buddy. We need to talk first," Tom interjected softly, his gaze fixed on Emily. "We can't go back to pretending everything is fine." "It's not." Emily's heart sank. He was right. They couldn't just eat cake and celebrate without facing the reality of their lives. "What does this mean for us?" she asked, her voice small as she looked at Tom, searching for clarity. "What do we do now?" The kids watched silently, their youthful innocence stark against the complexities swirling around them. Emily held her breath, terrified of Tom's answer. He hesitated, clearing his throat as if trying to find the right words, the ones that wouldn't shatter their family even further. "I know it feels like the ground is shifting beneath us," he began, taking a shaky breath. "But I want you to know that I still love you. We can work through this, I believe that, and I need you to believe it too." His eyes had a glimmer of hope, but as they met hers, she felt a lurch in her gut. The passion they once had seemed buried beneath rubble, and she couldn't see how they could dig through it together. "Do you really think we can fix this?" Her voice was barely above a whisper, yet each word echoed like magic in the heavy kitchen air. Tom nodded slowly. "I do. It's going to be hard, But I think it's worth trying. The children shifted in their seats, sensing the gravity of the conversation. It was overwhelming, the fierce love and betrayal battling within her. But as she watched Tom struggle with his emotions, she felt a contradiction rise within her. A part of her wanted to cling to the past, while another part yearned for healing, for growth, even if it meant wrestling with painful truths. "Mom," Jake's small voice broke through. "Will we still have family movie night? Like we always do?" Emily smiled at her son, touched by his determination to find normalcy. "Yes, sweetie, of course we will," she replied, feeling warmth bloom in her chest at the thought of movie nights and popcorn. At that moment something shifted in Emily. She realized that even in uncertainty there was love. Maybe it didn't look like the fairy tale she once dreamed of, but it could be a version filled with authenticity and understanding. "Okay," Emily said, swallowing hard. "Let us try. But we have to be honest with each other from now on. No more secrets." Tom nodded. No more secrets. As they all sat there surrounded by the remnants of their breakfast, a fragile hope began to unfurl in Emily's heart. She didn't know where this would lead, but she felt a flicker of courage igniting within her. But just as the mood started to shift towards something lighter, a sudden knock at the door sent the family into silence. Emily exchanged worried glances with Tom. Who could that be? The heavy silence punctured by the intermittent knocking set her nerves on edge. Tomorrow brought promise, but today had secrets yet undiscovered. She took a deep breath, bracing herself. "Who's there?" Emily called out, her heart hammering as uncertainty knocked louder than ever. The knock came again, insistent and unyielding. It jolted Emily from her thoughts, pulling her back into the present, a present that felt more frail than ever. She glanced at Tom, whose brow furrowed in concern. The kids stared at her wide-eyed and silent, their little hearts unsure of what the unknown visitor might bring. "Should I get it?" Jake asked, shifting in his seat, part curiosity and part fear. "No, stay there. I'll handle this," Emily replied, her voice steadier than she felt. As she walked to the door, each step echoed a growing sense of trepidation. The handle felt cool under her palm as she turned it. With a deep breath, she swung the door open, revealing a woman standing there, a figure swathed in a scarf, her face partially obscured but unmistakably familiar. Emily's heart raced for a different reason now. "Emily," the voice was soft yet heavy with emotion. "Margaret," Emily gasped, disbelief wrapping around her like a shroud. Tom's mother stood on the doorstep, her cheeks flushed and her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Can I come in?" she asked, her tone pleading. Emily's instincts wrestled. Part of her wanted to slam the door shut and retreat into the sanctuary of her kitchen, to protect her family from whatever storm was brewing. But another part, a part perhaps stronger, motioned for her to step aside and invite the unexpected guest in. Of course Emily stepped aside, and Margaret walked in, shaking off the chill of the autumn air. Tom's gaze was locked on his mother. "What are you doing here?" he choked out, shocked and concerned. "I know this isn't the best time," she began, her voice faltering, "but I needed to talk to you, both of you." Emily felt the walls of the kitchen close in as Tom clenched his fists, voicing unspoken fears. Their morning, already ripe with uncertainties, now bore the weight of potentially explosive revelations. Jake and Lily, sensing the shift, quietly moved closer to Emily, needing the comfort of her presence. "Let us sit down," Emily suggested, leading everyone back to the table. The tension in the room felt palpable, every breath like a jolting reminder of how quickly lives could spiral into chaos. Margaret settled into a chair, wringing her hands. "I've thought about this for a long time," she said, focusing on her son. "And while I thought you two needed space, I realized I can't stand by any longer." Tom's brow furrowed deeper. "Stand by for what? Mom, what is happening?" The air thickened with questions, the noose of confusion tightening. "There's something you both need to know about me, about your father." A gasp caught in Emily's throat, and she exchanged a look of sheer bewilderment with Tom. The world around them narrowed down to this moment, and every heartbeat reverberated with anticipation, urging them forward. 30 years ago I fell in love," she said slowly, her eyes glimmering with the weight of untold secrets. "Love that changed everything. Love that." Before she could finish, Lily piped up with innocent curiosity. "Mom, can we eat cake after? I really want cake." The moment broke, but the impact lingered. Tom and Emily exchanged uncertain glances, intrigued by the direction this was heading, their previous burdens momentarily forgotten. Margaret smiled, the tension easing slightly. Yes, after, I promise, she nodded at the children, then turned her serious gaze back to Emily and Tom. I just hope you can find it in your hearts to forgive me when you hear what's next. Emily could feel her chest tightening, the warmth of the kitchen now a distant echo as she leaned in, bracing for whatever unraveling thread was about to be pulled. But as the fragile hope they'd begun to nurture teetered on the edge, she couldn't shake the feeling that today's secrets could either bind them together or tear them apart forever. Would they be ready for the truth? Margaret took a shaky breath, her gaze flicking between Emily and Tom, the weight of her truth pressing down on her. Your father, he wasn't just your father. He was also someone else's husband. The world seemed to halt. The wood of the table felt suddenly rough and unwelcoming beneath Emily's fingers. Tom's expression morphed from confusion into disbelief, and then transformed into something darker: hurt and betrayal. What do you mean, Mom? He asked, his voice pinched, his hands shaking at his sides. Margaret lowered her eyes, struggling for the right words. When I was younger, I fell in love with a man named Michael. He was kind and he made me feel alive like I hadn't felt before. But he was married. I thought I could handle it, thought it was a passing fancy, but it wasn't he. I forced myself to choose family over love, and I married your father. Tom shook his head, his voice barely above a whisper. You never told us. Did Dad know? Did he ever? Your father, didn't he know about Michael? He loved me, and in his eyes I was faithful. I was loyal. But a piece of my heart always belonged to someone else, Margaret admitted, tears cascading down her cheeks. I thought I could bury it. I thought it would all be behind me. Emily's heart raced as she absorbed her mother-in-law's confession. Context swirled in her mind like chaotic weather patterns, threatening to fracture the small sense of stability they had nurtured. But why tell us now? She asked, her voice steady despite the tempest brewing within. Why now, after all these years? Margaret met Emily's gaze. Because I've never stopped loving Michael. I thought I could erase him from my life, but I can't, not after seeing the pain it has caused. And now I want to make things right. I need you both to understand that love is complex, and sometimes it hurts. I want to share the truth, not just for me but for you both too. Jake shifted in his chair, looking up at Emily questioningly. Are we still having cake? Margaret chuckled softly through her tears. Yes, sweetheart. After this, I promise. Tom rubbed the back of his neck, processing the tidal wave of emotions swirling around him. I need time to think about all this. It's a lot. Of course. Take all the time you need, Margaret nodded, a tremor in her voice. I know I've made mistakes, but I hope we can talk more about this later. Especially if it means finding a way to heal. Emily's heart ached for everyone in the room, including herself. How could she possibly navigate these new waters when the shoreline of their lives felt so fragile? As she glanced down at Lily, who was still waiting patiently for cake, uncertainty swept over her. Mom, she said softly, if we're sharing truths, I think there's something I need to tell you both too. The room seemed to close in again, and all eyes locked onto Emily. The air thickened, ready to burst with whatever revelation she was about to unleash. What is it? Tom asked, the urgency in his voice cutting through the tension. Emily took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. The world outside may have seemed calm, but inside, the storm was only just beginning, and she could feel the walls shifting beneath her feet. Would her own truth fit into this tangled narrative, or would it twist the already raw wounds beyond repair? In that moment, she realized that clarity might come at a cost, and the revelation of her own hidden truth was about to change everything. Emily could feel the weight of their gazes, heavy and expectant, as she stood at the precipice of her revelation. The air crackled with tension like a live wire. She fought to steady her breathing, feeling the heat creep into her cheeks. Okay, she finally said, the word frustratingly small compared to the gravity of what she was about to share. There's something I need both of you to know about me. Tom leaned forward, his expression a mixture of curiosity and concern. Margaret wiped her tears, her eyes glistening with hope that maybe Emily's truth would somehow ease the pain of her own admission. When I started dating you, Tom, Emily began, I wasn't totally honest about something. She swallowed hard, thoughts racing like cars in a NASCAR race. I had just come out of a really tough relationship, one that ended badly. It was with someone from my past who I thought I could never get over. The silence stretched painfully, like the moments before a storm. His name was Alex. We were together for years. I thought he was everything until he broke my heart. Emily paused, searching their faces. I guess I just wanted you both to know that I wasn't just falling for you, Tom. I was afraid. Sometimes I still am. Tom's brow furrowed as confusion flickered in his eyes. We all have pasts, Em. I get that. But why didn't you just tell me? Because I thought if I let you in on that part of my life it would change how you see me. My pain, my struggle. I wanted to be stronger for you. I didn't want you to think I was fragile. Her voice cracked, emotion spilling over. But by holding it back I created walls between us. Margaret's heart ached at her daughter-in-law's vulnerability. Emily was not just sharing a past. She was opening a door to intimacy. Honey, it's okay to be scared, she said gently. Tom loves you for who you are, scars and all. Tom reached for Emily, placing his hand over hers. I want you to trust me, Em. We're in this together, he said softly. But you need to trust me enough to let me be there for you too. With tears brimming in her eyes, Emily squeezed Tom's hand, feeling the weight of their connection begin to mend the fractures in her heart. Suddenly, Lily piped up from the other end of the table. Can we eat cake now? I'm really hungry. Her innocent smile broke through the heaviness, lightening the mood just a bit. Of course, sweetheart, Emily replied, wiping her tears and mustering a smile. She looked at Tom and Margaret. Maybe we all need some cake after this emotional roller coaster. As they stood to serve the cake, the atmosphere shifted slightly. There was still tension but also the glimmers of understanding, of willingness to navigate through fear and vulnerability. Lily grabbed 2 plates and grinned, I can help. I want the biggest piece. Margaret laughed, feeling the moment ease into something lighter. Let us celebrate the love we have, including the messy parts. But even as they began to slice the cake, Emily felt it. The undercurrent of unspoken truth still weaving through them all. Love was complex, and there was still so much left to untangle between them. As they gathered around the table, cake in hand, Emily suddenly thought of Alex, wondering if he'd changed, or if he was still the same boy who shattered her heart all those years ago. Her past loomed on the edge of her thoughts, a silent reminder that unresolved issues had a way of creeping back into life when least expected. Can I ask something? Emily ventured, hesitating just a moment. What happens if someone comes back, someone you thought you had left behind? The question hung in the air, ripe with possibilities, and the scratching of a fork on porcelain suddenly felt like an echo of her own fears. She could feel the weight of their anticipation pressing down around the table, leaving her breathless as the moment expanded into silence. What had she just set in motion? What door had she just opened? The room seemed to hold its breath, the soft hum of Lily's cheerful chatter fading into the background. All eyes turned to Emily, anticipation wrapping around her like a thick fog. Both Tom and Margaret exchanged glances, uncertainty flickering across their faces. What do you mean, someone you thought you had left behind? Tom asked, his voice soft yet firm, breaking the tense silence. Emily felt a wave of vulnerability wash over her. She glanced down at her half-eaten slice of cake as if it held the answers. I don't know. I guess I worry that my past could come back to haunt me. That Alex could somehow find his way back into my life. It's a fear that sneaks up on me. Margaret's heart raced. She hadn't expected the topic to dive so deep so quickly. Sweetheart, are you saying you still have feelings for him? No, not like that. The urgency in Emily's tone was palpable. It's not about wanting him back. It's more about the fear of what he represents. It's all the unresolved stuff just lurking there, waiting for a chance to resurface. I want to build my future with you and Tom, but... Emily's eyes searched Tom's, hoping to convey her sincerity. I want to do this right. I don't want to risk what we've built, fearing shadows from my past. Emily, it's okay to talk about it, Tom said, his thumb gently brushing over the back of her hand. You don't have to carry that alone. Whatever you need to face, we can do it together. Here and now. Lily, now focused on their conversation, chimed in. Can someone tell me why Alex sounds like a scary monster? Her innocent question broke the tension slightly, causing a chuckle to ripple through the group. Margaret ruffled Lily's hair playfully. Not a monster, honey, just someone who caused a lot of hurt once. She turned her attention back to Emily. You're safe now, darling. You're part of a new family. We're here to support you. Emily felt a warmth spread through her. She was surrounded by love, and yet the weight of her doubt still lingered. But what if he tries to reach out? I can't just ignore it. I don't even know if I'm ready to face that. Tom's grip on her hand tightened, a silent promise that he'd stand by her. Then we'll face it together. The past might have a voice, but we decide how much power it holds. I trust you, and I trust us. The room shifted from intensity to warmth, and as they took bites of chocolate cake, the sweetness lingered, a stark contrast to the heaviness of their conversation. Laughter erupted when Lily smeared frosting on her cheek, oblivious to the anxieties filling the air. Yet, even amidst the laughter, Emily couldn't shake off the feeling that something was shifting. Every shared emotion felt like a thread weaving them closer. But those threads could also unravel if the right tug came along. As they finished their slices, Emily's heart raced with uncertainty. Would Alex really try to come back? What if he showed up at the door one day, bringing all her worries into cruel reality? Just as her thoughts spiraled, Tom stood, looking at the three of them with a determined smile. All right, enough about the past. Let us focus on our future. How about we plan a little getaway while we can? Emily couldn't help but smile at his enthusiasm, but a small voice inside her whispered that unresolved issues had a way of crashing into the present when least expected. But deep down, she knew this getaway could be the fresh start she needed if only she could leave her fears behind. Could she truly step away from her past? Or would the shadows of Alex follow her, challenging everything she was trying to build? The question lingered, heavy yet hopeful, hanging in the air between them like a secret waiting to be uncovered. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow through the curtains, Emily felt a swell of hope mixed with anxiety. Tom's proposal of a getaway felt like a lifeline, but a part of her remained tethered to the unease gnawing at her thoughts. Would this trip really help her escape her past, or merely serve as a temporary refuge? Where do you think we should go? Margaret's voice broke through her reverie, her smile beaming with genuine excitement. Tom rubbed his hands together, grinning. How about the coast? We could rent a beach house for a week. Sand, sun, and surf. Forget about everything else for a while. His enthusiasm was infectious, and Emily felt a small spark of anticipation ignite within her. Yeah. Beach days, ice cream, and bonfire nights. Lily clapped her little hands, her eyes wide with delight. For a moment, the weight on Emily's heart lifted. Imagining the sound of waves crashing, their laughter mingling with the sea breeze, seemed like the perfect antidote to her worries. But as they scrolled through potential rentals on Tom's phone, the fleeting joy was pierced by a familiar anxiety. Maybe I should. Emily hesitated, then shook her head. I'll think about it later. She forced a smile, but inside, she felt dragged back into her fears. What would happen if Alex reached out while they were away? Could she really enjoy the ocean's rhythm when her mind was racing with what-ifs? Margaret, seeing the flicker of doubt on Emily's face, leaned in closer. I understand that feeling. Before I met Tom, I had my own ghosts. Can be tough to let go. Emily didn't respond, but the warmth in Margaret's eyes reassured her that she was not alone. You mean? Emily began, curiosity giving way to a growing bond. You had someone in your life that you struggled to move on from too? Margaret nodded slowly. I did. A love from long ago. Someone I thought I had buried with my past. But it took time and honesty with myself to realize that love can change. Doesn't he have to define who we are now? Emily felt a swell of compassion for Margaret. Did he try to reach out? Margaret's smile faltered a little. In a way. But it was my decision to not let that affect my present. My heart knows where it belongs now. Especially with Lily and Tom. I fought for my happiness. Tom glanced at both women, his brow furrowed in interest. What if he had? That would have made it much harder, right? Margaret's gaze was steady as she replied, maybe. But you have something different now, a family that supports and loves you. You don't have to be alone in this fight. Emily absorbed the weight of Margaret's words. It was a fresh perspective, one she desperately needed. Maybe it wasn't all about fear and retreat. Maybe it was about facing the past without letting it hold her hostage. Okay, she said slowly, a sense of resolve blooming in her chest. I think I can do this. Let us plan for the coast. I will try my best to let go of those shadows. Tom's eyes sparkled with pride and Lily cheered, "Yay! Beach time!" Emily smiled genuinely this time, her heart racing with the potential for something beautiful. But as they laughed and plotted their adventure, a sudden chill howled through her thoughts. What if the shadows were more persistent than she anticipated? The moment of truth seemed to linger just outside their frolicsome bubble, waiting to surface. Could she truly embrace her future while the echoes of her past loomed so near? The question felt heavier than before, an ever-tightening grip around her heart. And as they continued to chat and dream of sandy shores, Emily wondered who would truly arrive at that beach, her or the remnants of a life she yearned to forget. The next morning the sun streamed through the window, wrapping the room in a cozy warmth. Emily stirred, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. The excitement of the upcoming trip danced in her mind like sparks from a bonfire. It was a new day, and she wanted to hold on to that hope. As she prepared breakfast, her thoughts fluttered between the future and the past. The aroma of pancakes filled the air, but deep within her, melancholy threatened to surface. Would the waves wash away her worries or merely reveal the rocks beneath? Lily bounded into the kitchen, her hair a frizzy halo of morning chaos. "Can we go to the beach right now?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. Emily chuckled, ruffling her hair. "Not yet, sweet pea. We have a few days to go. But would you like to help me pack? We can create a beach playlist together." With a squeal, Lily grabbed a pen and paper, bouncing in her chair as she listed songs that made her think of summer days. Emily felt a swell of gratitude as she watched her daughter's enthusiasm, reminding her of the joyful memories still waiting to be made. "Don't forget Summer of '69, Lily shouted, her little hands moving quickly to jot down the title. Emily laughed, adding a few classics to their playlist, while a strange comfort enveloped her. It felt good to focus on the now and not the shadows creeping at the edges of her mind. Maybe the trip would help her reclaim those parts of herself that had been buried too long. Later that day, they all gathered in the living room to finalize their plans. Tom pulled up different options on his tablet, his eyes shining with excitement as Margaret shot off ideas. While Emily watched them banter, she couldn't help but think of Margaret's words from the previous night. "A family that supports you is a fortress against the past." "Okay guys, how about we share what we're most excited about for the beach?" Tom suggested, a playful grin on his face. "I can't wait to fall asleep listening to the ocean," Emily said, her voice barely above a whisper. It surprised her how readily the words flowed. "I want to search for the biggest seashell," Lily shouted, clapping her hands together. "Bonfire s'mores. That's gonna be epic," Tom chimed in, throwing his hands in the air. The room filled with laughter and anticipation, wrapping around Emily like a warm blanket. The thought of creating new memories, ones free from the weight of old scars, felt more tangible than it had a day ago. But as they planned, a flicker of apprehension still danced at the back of her mind. What if Alex reached out? What would that mean for the little family they were building? She brushed the thought away, focusing on the joy around her, longing to believe that this vacation could be a fresh start. That evening, once Lily was tucked into bed, she found herself staring at the moon spilling light through her window. The stars twinkled with what felt like distant hopes and dreams, whispering promises to her heart. But amidst the beauty, a text notification shattered the tranquility. It was from an unknown number, and a prick of anxiety raced through her. "Emily, it's Alex. We need to talk." The message hung in the air like a storm cloud. All the hope she felt earlier now felt fragile, teetering on the edge of something she was desperate to avoid. Her heart pounded as she stared at the screen, the weight of her past crashing over her like a wave. Could she withstand this? Would she have the strength to protect the light she had just begun to embrace? As she wrestled with her thoughts, Emily realized she stood at yet another crossroads. Would she dive deep and face the water, or retreat to the safety of the shore? The choice loomed ahead, demanding her attention, and the journey was far from over. Embracing her future would be just one battle, and she now felt the waves of uncertainty again lapping at her feet. Emily stood frozen in her bedroom, eyes glued to the phone in her hand. The screen seemed to pulse with an aura of dread. "Emily, it's Alex. We need to talk." The familiar dread curled in her stomach like a live snake. Memories of laughter, tears, and heartbreak surfaced like whispers. Here she was on the brink of a beautiful new chapter with Tom and her kids, Yet her past tugged at her like a haunting shadow. Swallowing hard, Emily felt the air grow thick around her. The initial excitement of the beach trip receded. What did Alex want? Did he even care about what he had left in his wake? Her heart raced, memories racing through her mind. Would he beg? Would he try to win her back? She could almost hear his voice, smooth and persuasive, promising everything she once wanted. But would that promise be genuine or just manipulation? Taking a shaky breath, she knew she needed to make a choice. Clutching the phone like it was an anchor to the past, she felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. Could her future withstand this? Emily moved to the window, gazing out into the night. The comforting glow of the moon bathed her garden, softening the edges of her turmoil. With every breath, she summoned strength she hadn't known she possessed until the last few days. She remembered Tom's words. Whatever you need to face, we can do it together. He had been nothing but patient, loving and supportive, want everything to work out for their family. Did she want to risk that for someone who had already walked away? No, she wouldn't let Alex pull her back into a dark spiral. Closing her eyes, she let the cool night air wash over her. She envisioned that upcoming trip, the laughter, the waves, the golden sands. Emily took a deep breath and feeling the resolve swell within her, she typed a response. Alex, I don't think we need to talk. I've moved on and I'm very happy. Heart pounding, she hit send. A mix of fear and exhilaration coursing through her. She felt lighter, as if a weight lifted off her shoulders. A little victory against the demons of her past. Moments later, her phone buzzed again. Emily, please. I know I hurt you, but I've changed. I need one chance to explain. Panic flickered. He was trying to pull her back in, and for a fleeting moment doubt crept in. What if she regretted this decision? But then she pictured Tom's warm smile, the innocent laughter of Lily and Jake, and the love that had begun to stitch together the fabric of their lives. No, she wouldn't waver. She had fought hard to reach this moment. I can't do this, Alex. I found a family who truly loves me. Please respect that, she typed, her resolve solidifying with each word. With a deep breath she hit send. Silence enveloped her, and for the first time in what felt like ages, she felt a tingle of empowerment. Yes, it was scary to stand against the past, but her heart was clear. Tomorrow, she would call Tom and her mother-in-law and share everything. They would face it together and forge ahead with new hopes. They would hear the crashing of the waves, wrapping them in a warm embrace, and she realized she had finally stepped beyond her past. Emily climbed into bed, pulling the sheets tightly around her, feeling as if she was cocooning herself from all the chaos outside. Her past would not dictate her future any longer. As her thoughts drifted to the trip, the scent of salt water danced in her mind, and for the first time she felt ready, the calm after the storm. Tomorrow was a new day filled with promise, and it was hers to make. That morning the sun rose brighter than usual, casting a warm glow over their breakfast table. As she sat with Tom and the kids, Emily couldn't suppress her smile. It felt different today, both fragile yet full of possibility. Are you ready for the beach? Tom teased. Absolutely. And I have something to share with you, Emily replied, her heart racing but steady. As the conversation flowed, she felt the certainty of her choice settle into her chest. They talked about the beach, but she knew her heart would spill truth shortly. And she felt a glimmer of hope that they could withstand anything as long as they stood together. With the sound of laughter, the aroma of pancakes, and the warm light streaming through their kitchen, she took a moment to appreciate the beautiful chaos of their lives. Whatever lay ahead, one truth echoed clearly: love, in its complex forms, paved the way toward healing. And as she looked at her family, she knew this was just the beginning. Now was the moment to embrace vulnerability and openness, to accept the past and cherish the present. Love would guide them through the labyrinth of uncertainty. As they made plans and laughed together, her phone fell silent, and she felt blessed to have chosen wisely. Tomorrow would be a beautiful day. Not just because of the trip, but because she had chosen to live boldly in the embrace of love. Emily felt her heart lift, ready for whatever came next. And as the sun rose a little higher, she whispered to herself, here's to new beginnings. Breaking news. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support means everything. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this fantastic ending. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your voice is important. Let us spread the hope together.